Hello, unstoppable real estate investors. I have such a treat for all of you today. Suzanne Hacker. What a great name for this business. Hacker, like house hacker, property hacker, and hack she does. She is going to, we're going to be talking about a formula Suzanne uses for really maximizing your profits and your potential, and maybe even some creative ideas around short-term rentals. But before we get into all that, she and I were just chatting a little bit before we went live about a property she's bought near me in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Is it in the Smoky Mountains or the Blue Ridge Mountains?
This one's in the Smokies.
Yeah, it's in the Smokies, which are part of the Blue Ridge Mountains, which are all part of the Appalachian Mountains. So it all blends
There you
together.
go.
And how close it is to me in Asheville. And she's in a really cool coffee shop. Unblur for a minute there. I love coffee shops with couches. I just am always looking for like give it a little scan, like what a cool coffee shop that is. I've got to come
wonderful.
visit you just to discover that coffee shop.
They have redone this and it just opened in the last year, and they've done a great job.
Yeah. It's lovely. So Suzanne, let's talk a little bit about, we have already established we like each other and we're going to meet in person, and I know you've just bought this place in North Carolina. It needs some work. You're going to live in it and fix it up and stuff. But are you from North Carolina? Where do you typically reside?
I am not at all from North Carolina. I grew up for the first 50 years of my life, in Wisconsin, and started investing there, had a vacation rental, flipped a house, and then sold it all and went to Florida. And that was 2.5 years ago. And
was
bought
that
a house
culture
there.
Shock? Because there's a lot of New Yorkers in Florida.
There's a lot of East Coast people there. Yeah. Upper East Coast, New York, Connecticut, New Hampshire, all of those. There was a little bit, but it was so close to the oceans, like 15-minute drive. And it's just, there's this, for me, when you went over this one bridge and you can see the ocean, just this sense of calm, and then going for walks on the beach, just really, like, I guess for me, just helps
mitigated the other stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So that's what I did. It was 2 years ago in April that I went to Florida, bought a house, fixed that one. And then a year ago in June, bought another one as an investment. Got that ready, put that as a vacation rental last September, and then now bought this one in North Carolina. So I am in North Carolina working on fixing this one up. And then my house in Florida will be a snowbird rental for this winter. And that'll help pay its bills. So, yeah.
And will you go back and live in Florida, or are you going to bounce around based on where you're investing?
My preference would be to bounce around a bit. Yeah, I think I'm realizing I've got a little bit of that gypsy soul in there that, wants to explore, and even here in North Carolina, I have to spend a bit of time exploring, seeing more of the area. Now so I started vacationing to this general area though in 1995, I think. So it's been a long time, and I wanted to buy property in the area, but the ex-husband wasn't on board with that. And, it's interesting.
And I noticed it's ex-husband now. Now here you are.
Right. And it was after the divorce was when I had the ability to start investing in real estate. And I did. And, it's so interesting because we had looked at this one property by Sevierville and Pigeon Forge many moons ago, the ex-husband and I. And we should have bought it. We should have bought it because not too long ago, I came across it on Airbnb and I went, oh, I'm just going to call that place the missed opportunity.
That could be mine. Is Sevierville near Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg on the far eastern edge of Tennessee? I didn't realize it was so close.
Yeah. It's like there's this line, there's Gatlinburg and then Sevierville and Pigeon Forge or something like that. Might be the opposite, but they're all like
really
in a row.
Great areas for short-term rentals. It's really floating there right now. Yeah,
it is. But they have introduced some recent regulation that's really going to change some cost factors for people in that area. So it's going to be interesting.
I was looking in Eastern Tennessee, and there were a couple that I found that went, oh my God, I was drooling over them. And they were in areas where you couldn't do anything under
Yeah.
30-day rental. We have
Yeah.
that in downtown Asheville, and the Asheville city zip codes
Yeah.
don't allow short-term rentals under 30 days, but the Asheville area,
Yeah.
short-term rentals, Airbnbs have been very
Yeah.
popular. In fact, I would
I
say
stayed
the
in
market
one.
is
Yeah, I
saturated.
stayed in one just outside of
Yeah.
Asheville a few years ago. That was so nice because it was pet friendly, had a fully fenced in yard and everything. And the neighborhood wasn't, as nice as probably being downtown, but it was still, gave me the chance to explore the area a little bit more.
Yeah, plug for Asheville. If you're traveling and you're looking for a really cool place that's beautiful, October is a beautiful time of year to come here. And I would say Asheville is the most pet friendly, especially dogs,
Sure.
town I have ever been in. I mean, you'll hear about places like San Diego, where I'm from. It'll say it's pet friendly, but not to renters. It's very hard for you to rent something. Whereas here,
Yeah.
everyone
There's a lot of
has
them.
dogs, and you can go into restaurants with your dogs, stores with your dogs. There are water bowls outside of every
Yeah.
store, shop. It's,
Yeah.
Airbnbs are pet friendly.
Yeah.
So yay.
Yeah,
Well,
I travel with my
too.
two. So yes, thank you.
I'm looking forward to meeting you in person here soon, seeing that coffee shop and seeing the most recent acquisition. So you're from Wisconsin. I bet relocating to Florida was really nice in the winter.
Huh? It was. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so is that where your investing career began? Is when you moved down to Florida, you bought that? Tell us a
Nope.
little bit about your background of investing. But before you do, what were you doing pre-real estate investing?
Yeah. So I was a banking executive and I was in banking for 25 years. And the beautiful thing about that is it helped me to see the other side because I would approve mortgage or consumer loans, which meant that I had to go through the documents. I had to look at their debt to incomes and their loan to value of the property and look at appraisals all the time and all these things. So it really got me that background of being able to help, to analyze from a financing perspective, if it was going to be a good deal or not, if we would want to, make the loan to them. So that was my background for 25 years was in banking. And that career ended when they sold my branches to other banks. So I was left
You
with,
got
okay,
laid
now
out?
what?
Oh, you got
Yeah.
downsized?
Correct. Yeah. Because the bank that I was with, they had acquired a lot of other ones in other states, but then they sold the Wisconsin branches to other banks. So then I didn't have my position anymore. And it wasn't available for me at either of the other banks as well. So that was when I was then left going, okay, well, what am I going to do next? And it took me a little while, but then I started to, I invested in my first property in Wisconsin. It was a two block walk to the lake, and bought another one as well, almost at the same time as doing this as a flipper, and completely gutted that one. And that was a really fun time too. That was an 1877 farmhouse in the city of Lake Geneva. And Lake Geneva is a really popular tourist spot. And that was 4 blocks to the lake. So that was, what I did in Wisconsin. I had a vacation rental and I did this fixer flipper, kind of deal. And it worked out really well.
How was your experience of doing your first fix and flip?
I loved it. I really loved it.
And
because I'm a really yeah, it went really well. But I mean, part of it was the market at the time that I sold, and it was one of those I'm going to sell now because, it was the market, a couple years ago. And even still, I think today the market was really good, whereas it hadn't been maybe quite as good because when I purchased it, I got it for a really nice price. And I put some money and a lot of sweat equity into it, but then I was able to sell it for a really nice profit, which was great. And then that was able to help to fund my next purchase, in Florida, and then still have some to put as down payments and stuff. So
that
began
great. Your career as a real estate investor.
Yeah.
Did you always know before that, but there were just restrictions because of the marriage that you knew?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's interesting because it goes back to probably when I was 15 or 16. I started to work for this couple who were a little older, and I cleaned for them. And then as they got older, I helped to do a lot more of like, personal care and stuff for them. And I did this part-time while I was at the bank, like the whole time. They had investment properties. And they would constantly be telling me, Suzanne, you need to invest. You need to invest in rental properties. And I would always say this to the ex-husband, and we would look at properties, but he just couldn't pull the trigger. So, and that's fine. Everyone has different levels,
Levels
of
of
risk that
risk,
they're comfortable
comfort,
with.
right?
Right. Yep. So, and that was his comfort level was just not there. So that's why I say, when I was able to, I started to do that. And partly I had seen, from them all those years, because that was 35 years total, that I was helping them or working with them, the older couple who had all these rental properties. I was able to see that monthly income that they were getting,
From the time you were a
and
teenager, you had a long-term relationship with them.
oh yeah, yep. From when I was
So they were
15
your
until I
inspiration.
moved. Yeah, they really were. Yep, they had condos and they had homes and, duplexes and single families. And yeah, I mean, they still have one or two, and he has since passed away just in the last year, but it's still helping her to pay for her, care now that she's alone. So, there's a lot of upside, in my opinion, to investing in real estate. And, let's say you have a long-term rental and it's like, what, it could do better as a short-term rental or vice versa. There's the ability a lot of times, if you invest in the right spot, that you can do that.
Yeah, and also what's really great is your background of banking, because you understand that side. And for a lot of newer investors, they just get screwed up about raising money. They don't get how easy it actually is, how many banks and lenders want to give them money. They see it as, oh, I'm trying to get someone to give me money. And it's like, you can't look at it like that. It's a good deal for the bank and the lender. They're making money giving you that money, but you also understand the numbers that a lot of investors need to get. In fact, I was guiding, I wouldn't say coaching, although I am a business coach, and that's what I do, is I coach investors, different niche than you, but this guy I met at a UREI meeting, he was considering hiring me as a coach, and then we just started to get to know each other, became colleagues, friends, and he's been looking for a certain kind of property in Asheville. We shared a vision about developing micro communities, little small sustainable communities, and also small tiny house villages, and that was our shared value. And he's been looking, because in Asheville, stuff doesn't stay on the market long. We really have a housing shortage. So he's missed opportunities. Finally, he pulls the trigger, and he just I got a message from him this morning that he's under contract on this property I'm drooling over. And while I'm kind of guiding him through getting it under contract, his realtor, which was, I'm like, dude, you need a different realtor, was really drilling him about the money. And I said, that's not the realtor's job. The realtor needs to get a proof of funds. That's it. The lender is the one who drills you on qualifying for the loan and all that. And he said, yeah, so I'm really worried about that. And I said, look, this property isn't going to be on the market long. It's just been listed. Don't worry about the money right now. Get the proof of funds letter in, answer your realtor's questions. He doesn't need to know the details. This is how you buy a house anyway. You get pre-qualified or pre-approved, but working out the money happens after you put something under contract, because they're loaning based on the property. I said, get it under contract. We'll worry about the money after. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm talking to you, because he thought he had to figure that all out before he put it. And he listened to me, and he's under contract on this gorgeous property. It needs work, but it's 22 and a half acres. A lot of it is open pasture field. And he wants me to go in on the deal with him to develop a small tiny house village. So, the money can stop people. Could you say something about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so
Like from
interesting
an
because
investor point of view,
yeah.
being a banker, like this, the order in which people should do something, and also something that can impact newer investors' mindsets around raising money, how it works and stuff. So it gives them a little more freedom to take action.
Yeah, and plus I mean, there are investors out there, and there's so many different lenders. So let's say you go to the first lender and they're like, meh, because maybe it's more of a conventional bank kind of lender and they're not as fond of, certain types of deals, because they want to base it more on you and your own personal debt to income. But there's so many other ways, like you just mentioned, to just use the property and its potential, the rent,
DSCR loans,
all of
yeah.
those. Yeah, so many options for financing that, yeah, don't get hung up on, oh, I don't have the funds, or I'm not yet this, or I don't have, just
Because
find
that
that
is a
perfect property and have
mindset
your
thing.
vision.
Right.
It's true. Yeah,
That
I
is
saw
such a
something the other
mindset.
day. It's like, have your vision and then you can figure out all those pieces. And if you're given this vision of something that you need to do, your purpose in your life and stuff like that, you'll find a way. It's same thing with buying property. Like if you find that perfect property, you'll find a way. And people like
I
you
love
or me
that.
can help you.
I love that. I have a realtor. She's phenomenal. She's an investor, so she gets it. And I have a lot that I have under contract right now. And they're today having a soil scientist come in, test the lot because it's a wooded area to see if it's going to perk for septic and building. And I said, well, fingers crossed. And she said, you know what, though? There's always a way. There's always a way. And I said, I love that about you, Julie. There is always a way, because we use a lot of septic here. And there are ways to do septic with a pump or whatever where you can still get it to perk. So I love the way you're saying it is, if you really want something bad enough, you will find a way. You'll find the money, you'll find the time, you will find a way, you'll get creative, or you get support and you have people who can help you do it.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing, having the right people around you, because sometimes like having the wrong people in your life, like it affects your mindset, and that's the biggest battle that we have a lot of times. And especially with making investments, it's like, don't let that fear control what you looking to do.
I agree. So you bought a place in Wisconsin, you fixed this old historical building up, you had a blast, you sold that, you moved to Florida, you bought a house that you lived in, now that's a rental, and then you bought another place, now you've got this place. So continue your journey with us. You were inspired when you were younger, you broke free from a marriage where you didn't have shared values. Now
Sure.
you're off, you're being a little gypsy, getting to roam around and acquire properties. So talk about the shift into short-term rentals and getting more specialized in what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that actually though started also in Wisconsin, where the property that I had and I was living in, for me, it wasn't the first property that I was there after the marriage. It wasn't a property that I wanted to live in forever. It was next to a gas station, which has its benefits of being, a mini bar,
Convenient.
depending on the
Yeah.
time of day, right? But I'm an early riser and I get up early and I go outside with the dogs and you could hear people across the fence or, smell the smoking going on. And I'm like, this isn't where I want to live. This property would make a better rental, right? But when I started to run the numbers, of course, I immediately saw for me and where it was and so close to the beach and it's so close to, resort towns and Chicago people and stuff. I was like, oh, dang, this will make more money as a short-term rental than a long-term rental. Not that it couldn't, do fine as a long-term rental, but as a short-term rental, it had a lot more potential. So that's when I first did that.
Talk about that right there, how you analyzed and how you determine whether something's going to be long-term or short-term.
Yeah. Well, for one, looking at your comparable rents, like look in the area and look to see, first of all, long-term rents. What are they going for that certain type of property? This one was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, a little bit older home, Dutch colonial, whatever. the rents, you might be maybe around 1,500 a month, let's just say, for an even number. But then when you start to look at short term, and I usually use, as a goal of being booked 20 out of 30 nights a month. Okay, let's look at comparables for like on Airbnb or VRBO. Okay, and I know there are other tools that you can use nowadays where it'll run some numbers for you, but I'm still old school where I like to do my own research, go into Airbnb, what other vacation rentals in the area, what are they renting for? Are they fully booked? Are they not fully booked? And then take that number, take it and multiply it by 20 out of 30 nights. So you got 20, and that's your, goal or a good, if you're doing decent. Okay, this is what it can earn in rent. So let's say you're at $200 a night for 20 nights. Well, that's $4,000 instead of 1,500. Now you have a little bit more expenses when you're doing a short-term rental, where you're going to have to pay for the internet, and if you have cable TV, and you're going to be responsible for those utilities, but you're still going to be doing better as a vacation rental or short-term rental than you would as a long-term rental. Now that's different, obviously, in different markets and different types of properties, and also depends, if you're managing yourself, you can keep more of that. Whereas if you have to hire a property manager and you're going to give them 20%, then you got to make sure you factor that in as well.
So is your real estate investing in your short-term rentals paying the bills? Are you like not doing anything else?
So it pays the bills, but I also coach people because I mean, that's one thing that I really loved in banking. That's probably what I liked the most about my banking career, was in coaching my branch managers and regional managers in how to run their businesses. So that's, what I also do. And then I've also developed a training that's becoming more of my mission or passion in life, which is to train vacation rental owners in how to make their property safe and comfortable for families with children on the autism spectrum.
Yeah,
because a lot of
vacation
vacation rentals just aren't safe enough for those types of kids. A lot of them have the electronic keypad with that deadbolt, right there, that unfortunately is within reach of a lot of children. And a simple thing of just installing a better security lock, whether it's even one of the chains or the same as the hotels have, up higher where the little ones can't reach it, something just that simple can help to keep them safe. But there are a lot of other things that can also be done to make a property safer. I have a really good friend, and then I have so many families and neighbors and people with children on the autism spectrum, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. And they don't, they still need a vacation too, but they want to feel safe while they're out with their family too. So I had a personal, unfortunately.
Inspired you to focus on that as a niche, is all the people in your life that had
it is. I have a really good friend. I have a really good friend who, this was actually back when I still lived in Wisconsin, and they have a second home. It was actually right near the vacation rental that I had. And I got a call late one night because their little 4-year-old daughter, who is autistic and nonverbal, had slipped out of the house during family movie time. And her husband called me. His wife had just called him, and then she was calling 911. So they didn't know for sure how long she had been gone, because they were all watching a movie and they didn't realize until it was time to brush their teeth and go to bed. And then, so I get the call from her husband, Ninny's missing. And Ninny had decided it was time to go to the beach at 9:00 at night. And so fortunately, somebody saw her when they were passing by and called 911, and they were able, this was a good story. But there are other stories that aren't good. Like even just this June in Florida, there was a family staying at a vacation rental, and their little 4-year-old girl who's autistic slipped out during the night, and it was too late when they found her. And so that's why my mission is to try to make these properties safer for children that are on the spectrum.
Did someone get her, or did she just get?
No, unfortunately, a lot of them are drawn to water, and I don't know why, but a lot of autistic children are drawn to water. And there was a canal that was right by the house. So just like my friend whose little one had gone to the beach, this little one found a nearby canal, and that's where she was found the next morning. So, and there's a lot of stories. Like it's one of those things. And if there just would have been another lock or a little alarm or something in that house,
Oh,
it could have turned out better. So it's like, I don't want that to keep happening to families,
well, I
and they
love
need to
that
be able to
you're
relax.
using that to bring awareness, but also to just have a specialty. And
Sure.
because it doesn't impact anybody else who does that rental, to make
Right.
it a little safer for someone on the spectrum doesn't make it more difficult for someone who isn't.
Correct. Yep. And you can have little alarms on the doors and windows that only have to be used by the families that, have autistic children. Otherwise, nobody's going to even know they're there. So there's just a lot of little things that can be done in a home to make it safer. And yes, other people can enjoy it just as well but those families also get to have a vacation.
I love that. So talk about how you've been funding your investments and how you're, being from a banker,
Yeah.
when and you got divorced and you started buying these properties yourself. As a bank, you probably made good money, but still at some point you're needing to borrow other people's money. So
Sure.
talk a little
Yep.
bit about how you go about raising the capital to buy a property.
Well, I was fortunate. What's the one good thing about the marriage was he was a saver and not a spender. And yes, I did okay as an executive in banking. So I do have some cash still set aside to hopefully make, more investments in the future. But I don't I made the mistake. I'm just going to say it right now. I made the mistake when I bought the fixer upper. I made a mistake of buying it in cash. And I look back now and I'm like, why did I do that? Why didn't I use other people's money? What the heck was I thinking? So, I've been fortunate to come across some really good lenders that have been, creative. And I think that's part of it is establish those relationships and those connections with some of these creative lenders or investors, that group of people that this is what they want to do, partner up with people. There's groups of investors that, like you and your friends that are like, you know what, we want to do like this, let's do this tiny home village. Let's do this. So it's connecting with people, I think is also like one of the best ways. Finding creative lenders who are willing to be like, okay, so you're not going to qualify for this bank loan. We can try it, but you're not going to qualify. Let's look at what our other options are.
Yeah,
And you,
yeah. Could I interject something there? What I like
yeah,
what you're saying, and I want you to speak to this, is don't let a lender hold you hostage and set terms that you've got to jump through hoops.
yeah,
You want to look at this when you're raising money and you're starting to establish relationships with lenders, whether they're hard money, private money, or conventional lenders, that the terms work for you, and that that is someone, the way they operate works for you to have a long-term relationship. I have clients that will just get one or two lenders and just be held hostage because, well, I've got lenders, but the lender doesn't communicate, drags the process out, doesn't deliver what they promised, whatever. You don't have to be held hostage. There are so many lending sites that will connect you with lenders. And like you said, just networking. Hey, who knows of good lenders? Where have you found them that work with you? Especially if you're going to do creative deals like sub-twos and seller finance and wraps and novations, being able to have lenders that are going to work with you on deals. So anything you want to say more about with regard to that?
I love how you said that, like, don't let them hold you hostage, and there are so many, I just look at it, there's so many opportunities out there. And sometimes it might be an owner finance, seller financing deal. Sometimes it might be, you got to get creative financing, or maybe you get a home equity on your primary so that have some more, there's all sorts of options. But I think people, they don't know what they don't know too. And they've been taught, to go to the bank. And it's like, there are so many other people and options that you can talk with. And so don't let that stop you if you have that dream and this is what you want to do. So I love that you said that. Don't let them hold you hostage.
Well, and the
That's great.
reason I'm emphasizing that, because your background's in banking, and this is, you probably find this with people you're coaching. It's there's a few key spots people get stuck.
Sure.
Analyzing, learning how to do the numbers,
Sure.
talking to sellers,
Yeah.
making offers, understanding all the transactional aspects of deal, and raising funds. There's certain key areas in the business people get stuck. So I thought I'd, take advantage of your background. And
I like it. And I'm like, hey, talk to people like you or me that can help people navigate, through
and
all
it's
of
more of a
things.
mindset shift than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
So short-term rentals.
Mhm.
You have some long-term rentals, but why is short-term rentals your passion? You just see more profit potential in them? They're more work too. So talk
They
a little
are.
bit about why that's your little zone that you've landed in.
Yeah, I think for whatever reason I got addicted, and that's all I can say is I got addicted to that. I do enjoy the hospitality side though as well. And I think what I love the most is when my guests say that it feels like home. And for it to help people have a great vacation and have that, little bit of hospitality side, coming through all the time. I think for me that's also, it makes me feel good. Whereas you're not going to get that same feel good with a long-term, rental. So for me, that's really why. It's just that feel good. And there's just something about it that I got addicted to,
And are you self-managing? So
I do. And then I also
in,
co-host for others as well, just because I
so
like it
you
so
enjoy
much.
the management piece.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people are going to delegate that out, and some
Yeah.
people, like I've got clients that we've built their portfolio to a certain degree that property management, them doing themselves, became cumbersome. And then I have other investors, friends, and clients that have short-term rentals, and they'll use Evolve or someone else,
Sure.
but they're giving up a lot of profit.
Correct. And that's the way I look at it, is I'm not ready to give that up. That's
Yeah.
a lot of money. And once you have, because there's so many ways you can have a lot of it automated, but still look like it's not. Hospitable is what I love to use because of the guest communication. Because you can set up so that, if they even just make an inquiry, they're going to get an immediate response. If they book your place, they get an immediate response. Anytime,
It's just
that
like
they
an
have
email
questions or whatever.
campaign,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it looks like it comes from you. It sounds like it comes from you because you get to create it yourself, but it does it for you. So to have those types of automations in place helps you to run the business as well. And then having good cleaners, having good other, maintenance type of people in the areas, you have to have those things too.
So
Otherwise,
that
no, you
you
can't
automate the stuff you don't like to do, so that now the piece that you love, the hospitality piece, is a self-expression. You haven't been worn down doing the stuff you don't like doing, so you can really do the stuff that's fun for you.
Yeah, I think the other reason I do like the short-term rentals is I like the design side. When I first started my coaching business, it's called Welcoming Wow. And the reason why I called it that was I was taking like interior design courses, getting certified, all these types of things. And I wanted people to understand that your guests, you want to welcome them with a wow when they come into your space. And it's this whole, like perspective. What is it, capturing them within that first, time? And what do they see and feel when they walk into that space, or even when they just pull up to it? And I really love the design thing. But when I started to work with people, it always was going back to the business because of that banking background and always going back to the numbers. So then it was kind of like, okay, well, I can also kind of help you with design, but we're really always going to go back to the numbers. And let's talk about your marketing. Let's talk about how you're going to grow those numbers and get those bookings up. And what can you do, to kind of beat those
Well, that's
algorithms
a
and make sure
nice
yours stands
range to
out.
have, That's a nice
Yeah,
range.
it's probably not very common that someone's like, well, I'm a former banker, but I also like to design, but I also like this. So I'm weird, but that's okay. It's me.
So, how long have you been at this?
2018, I believe, was when I
Okay,
first
it's not very
started.
long. 5
So
years.
yeah, 5-6 years. Yeah, 5 years.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good
so
for
not too
you.
long,
You've
but
accomplished a lot in 5 years.
Yeah, it's been busy. I'm
So
not someone that likes
your,
to sit around.
so
That's the
what's your
problem too.
total portfolio and like where do you have properties?
I just have the properties in Florida and North Carolina, and then I also manage properties in Tennessee and Florida because I manage for other people as well.
And you don't have
So that's it.
anything left in Wisconsin, like your Wisconsin
No, I
days are
sold.
over?
'Cause here's the problem. Well, and I do kind of regret this too. I try not to have regrets in life, but I do wish that I wouldn't have sold one of the properties because, at the time I hadn't really even heard much about this whole remote hosting that people are doing all the time now. And I was like, well, I can't manage this from Florida. So no, I have to sell it, which in the end, it gave me the money to, buy other properties and stuff. But I could have still I could have still kept it and I still could be hosting people. It's still a vacation rental, just somebody else owns it and they're getting to make money off of it? So I do have
Lessons
that little
learned,
regret.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
We all
yeah.
have those in life. I do wish I wouldn't have sold that one. Yeah.
So how long were you into this? Because you haven't been an investor for very long. It's been 5 years.
Mm,
When did you start to really realize, oh, I'm on to something? I'm going to start creating a process. When did you start coaching people?
After the move to Florida. It was one of those, like, I started it as I was selling the houses, and I was like, "You know what? I've been told for years." Basically, when I left banking, people started telling me, "Suzanne, you need to be a business coach. You need to be a business coach. You're just really good at coaching." This is what my former employees would tell me. You're a really good coach. You need to coach other people." But it was like I dabbled in this, I dabbled in that, I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
this,
yeah. You take for granted. Yeah.
you don't say, "Oh, but you don't know either." And then I started to, like, you know what? I'm gonna hang my shingle out, and let's see if this is gonna, be a go. But even then, it really wasn't until I hired my own business coach to really help me to, like, get it going and navigate, the whole business. And how do you let people know what you do?
You
How do
got to
you get
drink your own
clients?
Kool-Aid and eat your own cooking. You
Well,
got to
that was the other
practice
thing
what you
too.
preach. Right.
Because I didn't want to coach people on managing and owning a vacation rental if I didn't have one that I currently owned. That was the other thing. Like, no, I feel, and I know that there are coaches out there in this world who say that they're a vacation rental business coach, but they don't own any and they don't manage any. And I'm like, well, how are you knowing what is still appropriate and actually works in the real world? Nope, I had to start buying. I'm like, no, I have to actually have them that I own and manage. And then having others that, I also co-host for other people, that has lent a whole nother perspective, to it. So I think all of it just kind of all starts to blend in there. And it's like, I can help you with that. So
Yeah,
that's
good
it.
for you. In a very short period of time, you can tell you've got a background where you're good at putting things together and having a process and being organized and creating a system. So you've got a handful of rentals and
Yeah.
you enjoy coaching people on not just the business but the design aspect of things. Welcoming, wow, that's cool.
Thank
And
you.
so what's the future for you? Where do you see yourself going from here?
That is a really good question because what I really am focusing on, like, right now today, is the spectrum friendly vacations and really getting vacation rental owners to understand that they need to learn and know how their properties can be safe for children on the autism spectrum. So,
And
like,
it
right
doesn't
now, that's
take
like
that much,
forefront.
does it?
It doesn't. Like, it can be done it technically can be done between turnovers, and it will cost you less than $500 to purchase different items. And you don't even have to do all of it. It's like, just do some of it, that'll try to keep these little ones a little safer and give the families, a little bit more peace of mind. So
Yeah.
that for me is, like, right now, like, I have to, like, keep getting the word out about spectrum friendly vacation rental training and get people, let's do this, please, because I just don't want to see anything happen more to the children. Now, obviously, in the meantime, I'm fixing up this property in North Carolina, and I've got the properties in Florida and all of that. So
Join this group, my group, the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor. Feel free to promote in my group
thank you.
about this because it's a special niche. I think it's worth educating people on. It's the same name as the podcast. Everything's in reverse with Zoom, so I've got it.
Right. So you're like, am I pointing the right way?
Yeah,
Thank you. I
and
appreciate that.
because um that's not just about promoting your service, it's awareness.
Correct.
I mean, it just breaks my heart that this family went on a vacation and their dog, their child, they find their child drowned in a canal the next morning.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen.
That hurts my heart.
Right.
So, let me ask you, Suzanne, if you were to jump up on a rooftop and you had a captive audience,
Okay.
and you could disperse words of wisdom that they would hear and heed, like they'd hang on every word and go, oh my God, yeah, we're going to go do that. What is the advice you would give them?
My best advice would be that, if you have a dream and if this is something you want to do, don't let people stand in your way. Shift your mindset to being, I can do this, and don't let that fear stop you from doing what you really want to do. And you'll find the right people and you'll find the right opportunities that they'll be put in your path. It's just one of those, I just feel like there's so much power in believing that you can accomplish something. And there's so many people that have that self-doubt that holds them back. And I just, it's like, I just wish people wouldn't have that doubt, that they could just, they'll find a way and you can do it, so that's the thing for me. The biggest thing is I want people to, have that mindset. Yes, you can be a real estate investor, and it might not be that $1 million place right away, or 5 properties or, a tiny home village or something like that, because everyone has to start somewhere. Rarely does somebody start with the big one. You start with the small ones and you learn
small,
and you grow.
Consistent actions, like how you started out. And you don't even have a huge portfolio.
No.
And
but I love what I do.
Yeah. And I know people that think they need to have 100 doors to have what they want. And I know other people that have 7 or 8 rentals and they're done. They're retired. That's all they need because of the way they did it.
Sure.
The profitability of just those few is enough.
That's true too. And plus I don't, it's like we sometimes, I don't think I would want 100 doors, and I'll just be honest. Like, no,
I don't.
It would be too much for me. I don't want it.
I mean, I coach people that are far more successful than I am in real estate.
Yeah, I like it.
They want a bigger dream than I do, but I'm coaching them on systems, processes, building the team. Do the numbers make sense? All those things. And I'm very transparent about it. It's like, great, you want 50 grand a month? Go, great. I'm good with 10 or 20. So whatever it is in passive income or however you want to do your business. Some people like the fix and flips. Others just want to do wholesale and rental. There's so many things you can do in this business.
Yeah, I love it.
And I love what you're saying about don't let people stop you. Don't, just go for it. Go for it.
That's true. Yeah. No, you have great advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're awesome to share.
Well, I'm just reiterating your wisdom. But, anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like people to know about you, what you're doing, your mission, your passion, your purpose?
I think we have covered it. I hope that they look up SpectrumFriendly training or SpectrumFriendly vacations, first of all, just because that's like, where my heart is, trying to protect the little ones. Other than that, work with you or work with me, but get a coach. That was the one thing that helped me in my business the most, was getting a business coach, somebody that's actually going to help give you that great advice, hold you accountable, have those check-ins with you and help you stay on track.
Yeah, I really think as coaches, to have integrity, you got to practice what you preach. Yeah. I remember years ago, I don't know what the circumstances were, but I met some young gal who was a business coach and we were in some kind of group program or something. Right. And she was young. She'd never owned a business. And she was a business coach who also never had a coach, never did a business. And I'm like, I didn't say anything to her, but I just thought, why would I hire you?
Sure. That's a good point. Yeah.
You don't have experience. She was young, so she doesn't have experience or wisdom from age and experience, but practice what you preach.
Right.
You know?
Yep. Totally on that page with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on
Oh,
today.
my
I really
pleasure. Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much, Suzanne.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. And I'm gonna shut down the live, but keep you on. I think we're live, and it's gonna, because we're plugged into Facebook, I'm gonna shut us down.
Okay.
And then it's gonna turn everything off. But what I want to do is just click on the link again.
I will.
Let's come back. I want to get your, well, you know what we'll do is I'll just DM you or email you about making a time to meet. I'd love to see that coffee shop, but I'd love to see your latest project since you're so close by.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
It's great
You
being
too.
on. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye.